What's going on, people? It's Holy Joe Rock and Roll reporting to you live from Rome. I'm just a few hundred meters from the Basilica of St. Paul's metro stop in what you might call a neighborhood with normal people, so outside of the touristy area. And a few comments about Rome. Of course, Rome is the heart of the Roman Catholic Church. They say it's the center of the world, center of civilization, the heart of the church. And it still is in many ways. However, I did notice a few things. It seems that only tourists are wearing sunglasses. I kid you not. But here's why. Cacao! If you want that owl eye look, the sun doesn't obviously get through the glasses and you are left with big white circles or whatever your color was before you came here on your eyes. So I expected to see everybody wearing sunglasses in a stereotypical fashion, but honestly I didn't see very many people wearing sunglasses. Most of them were obviously tourists. That's number one. Number two, I witnessed a protest march down through one of the Liberation Plaza. Holy Joe Rock and Roll reporting to you live from Rome. Here I am in the Forum area. Police have cordoned off the area. There's been a chopper in the air. We've got riot guys here, over here. We've got Anonymous protesting. I mean, the red flags tell me it's either a labor union or a political party protesting something, but good question. How's that working for you? I'll have some additional information in this video and some footage. Apparently it was a protest for housing or fair housing, or I don't know. But it was a third world march. A march, a protest of what could be described as third world immigrants. A lot of them are Muslim. Women wearing the headscarves. Maybe not the hijab, but definitely headscarves. And a lot of people from Africa. A lot of people from the Middle East, Pakistan, Bangladesh, wherever. Protesting housing in Rome, one of the most expensive cities to live in, at least real estate wise. And I also noticed a lot of graffiti here. Even the subway was covered with graffiti circa 1970s New York City style. What this city needs is a Mayor Giuliani and a police force that's going to crack down on the squeegee guys. I saw squeegee guys here. Obviously not Italians, but third world immigrants trying to wash your windshield in the street. What else? Food is fabulous, of course. That hasn't changed. Weather has been amazingly nice every day. It's June. Of course, it's going to get even hotter. I'll be back here next month. People are pretty friendly. Try to understand you. If you want an espresso, well, that's un café. Just order a café. If you want an American watered down coffee, that's cafe Americano. I don't recommend it. Just get a café, and usually they'll give you a little side glass of water to wash it down. Or you can order a cappuccino and wash it down with that, okay? Few thoughts. You know, compared to Poland, and Poland has been described as the Italy of the North for some good reasons. I don't know, man, I kind of like living in Poland a lot better. You know? I think I could continue to live in Poland better. You know, you can't really go by, what do they say, life what do you call it, the cost of living. Cost of living is going to differ for everybody, depending upon what your tastes are, what your wants are, what your desires are. Obviously, probably where you live is going to dictate your cost of living, because apartments are expensive, places to live are expensive, especially for short-term tourists. But you know, if you're here for a week, it's affordable. I just had a espresso, un café. It was 90 euro cents, so roughly $1. And you know, the best coffee in the world is here, bar none. The best coffee. How the Italians roast it, cook it, you know, produce it, make it, serve it. It's always been like that. In Naples, I would say it's a little bit better, because they usually add this creme de coco on top, a little smidgen of it, and that just kicks it up a notch. Basically like a sweet cream with a little bit of a coffee flavor put on top of that. What else can I tell you? Really cool place definitely to visit. You got to see some of the sights. It was just in the Forum area, where you can see, obviously, maybe not prehistoric, but definitely early history, over 2,000-year-old ruins, which clearly show that this part of the world, at least this part of the Western world, was highly advanced, you know, 500 BC, you know, with everything that we think of today. Churches or temples, restaurants, places to live. Of course, they had the baths here. They had water coming in from aqueducts. Really impressive technologies for, you know, BC time, people. BC. And while it's true that probably you could say that all cultures have added something to human history and to humanity, it is quite clear that Italy or the Romans have probably added they're punching above their weight. Let's just say that. They're definitely punching above their weight and have contributed a lot to the world. And it's funny because with the rise of Islamic extremists and their attempts to destroy pre-Islamic history, and remember, Muhammad, which is not his real name, his real name was Abdullah, whatever. Muhammad means the enlightened one, by the way, for you Muslims who didn't know that, okay? That wasn't his real name, okay? Those people who are trying to destroy ancient history, pre-Islamic history, because they're trying to say that before Islam there was nothing but chaos and destruction and nothing good, is obviously a farce. Obviously a farce. And just another reason to shed strong doubts on the validity and the seriousness of Islam as a religion compared to other religions. All right, I don't want to get into the religion thing today on this episode, on this talk, but it's pretty clear. If you just open your eyes, there was culture, there was history, there was people, there was trade, there was commerce, well before the 600 AD period, 630 AD period. And it was by and large peaceful. It was by and large governed by a rule of law, Roman law, or whatever law there was. And you can see why a lot of people would want to come to the West, because there is just so much here that is better. The access to education, medicine, technology. When I say here, I mean the West. I mean the West in general. So that'll probably never change. But one thing I would warn the Americans out there, and even the Europeans, is put an end to this illegal boat people coming in by boat. Just sink the boats. Change the policy. You know, you got refugees at sea coming here illegally, and there's no way to assimilate them. There simply is not enough room on the streets to support any more illegal street vendors selling crap from China. And there simply is not enough room. We've got enough of that. And I really don't know how it's going to turn out in the U.S. Obviously, the U.S. has 2 oceans, but that southern border is pretty porous. And while people coming from Central and South America, maybe not from South America, but Central America, the poor people there may have values a little bit more in tune with Western values if they're Christians, right? They are still third world people. And it is questionable what the first generation is able to contribute to any society except for manual labor or doing the jobs that the locals, the natives don't want to do anymore. But there's still only so much that they can do. There's only so much demand for those jobs, especially in economies that are growing at barely positive GDP, barely positive GDP growth. The U.S. being maybe the one exception, growing at first quarter was negative GDP, but let's say on average about 2%. The U.S. economy at $17 trillion GDP, 2% is still $400 billion a year in GDP growth. That's the size of a lot of economies out there, the entire economies. So it's better than nothing. And just a few smart decisions, a few good decisions can turn everything around. Just fiscal responsibility by the governments to stop stealing, and the governments to stop pandering to poor people to get their votes, and the governments to really start balancing their budgets, living within their means, and encouraging companies to expand their businesses or start businesses. That is the biggest benefit to the average person. If you want to improve the lives of the average person, you have to have economic growth. And that's the only way I see it happening. I just went into a cafe, did my second coffee of the day, and I am positive those people were not Italians. They were speaking Spanish. So maybe they're from Spain. Who knows where they're from? Maybe they're from Guatemala. I don't know. Definitely were not. Definitely were not Italian. But it was a good cup of coffee. They apparently own this place. So, but they're in business. See, they're doing business. They're doing commerce, making commerce, and that's what's keeping them afloat, keeping them in business, keeping them, alive. All right, well, those are some of my thoughts. Holy Joe Rock and Roll from Rome. I love these pine trees. So amazing the way they grow here and the way they trim them. They just look so cool. Reporting to you live is Holy Joe Rock and Roll.